You're listening to the Broken Havoc podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the frickin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. What's up, everybody? It is Broken Havoc here, right here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here with the AEW Dynamite review from April 6th, 2022. Of course, this show was headlined and main evented by FTR defending the Ring of Honor and AAA Tag Team Championships against the Young Bucks in what has been a fantastic role and a fantastic run so far for FTR. FTR is arguably right now the best tag team in the world today. Fantastic match and a fantastic main event by both teams. I'm going to talk about that later on in the review. Of course, we had Adam Cole taking on Christian Cage. Sammy Guevara is starting to get boos from the crowd along with Ty Conti. The Hardys face Butcher and Blade in a tables match, in which I thought was a pretty good match, but let's be honest, it was kind of off. And I'll talk about that later on in the review. So yeah, we got a lot of things to talk about right here on the AEW Dynamite review. Rampage next week is looking to be a huge show. Of course, Rampage next week is going to be live, and it's going to be main evented by Hangman Page versus Adam Cole in a Texas death match for the AEW World Championship. We also got Battle of the Belts 2 next week on TNT as well. So we got a lot of things to talk about right here on the AEW Dynamite review. But before I get on with the review, make sure to like and subscribe to the Broken Havoc podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the freaking referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, the Broken Havoc podcast is now available on audio format, so it's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So if you guys want to check out the Broken Havoc podcast in audio format, it's available on those platforms as well. All right, let's get to with the Dynamite review. Dynamite kicked off. Overall, I thought the show was fantastic. I really enjoyed the show. Dynamite, everybody, talks about the Raw after WrestleMania and how it's like the best Raw ever. But let's be honest, the Raw after WrestleMania was not that good this year. It really wasn't. The only thing interesting on the show was Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, and that's that. But this show definitely had the feel of a Raw after WrestleMania, and that's saying something because of the fact that WWE dominated the entire weekend, and rightfully so because it was WrestleMania weekend. But besides WrestleMania, there's also something big that happened. Of course, we had Ring of Honor's Supercard of Honor pay-per-view this past Friday, which was a really good show. I actually got around watching it because I purchased the pay-per-view the same day that it was going to air on Fight, but I didn't watch it live, mainly because of the fact that I wanted to give you guys the SmackDown and Rampage reviews, so I had to watch those shows, and I feel really stupid, mainly because of the fact that, could you imagine if I was watching the Ring of Honor pay-per-view and I would have went apeshit for Samoa Joe. And I didn't watch it, but thankfully I went around and watched it the next day. And actually, I didn't finish watching it until the Sunday, like before WrestleMania. So I got around finishing the show, and overall, I thought the Ring of Honor show was really good. I definitely enjoyed what I saw. Wheeler Yuta versus I forgot his name. I'm not really familiar with the Ring of Honor product, my bad, but the Pure Championship match was really good. I really enjoyed, of course, the Briscoes versus FTR. It was by far the one of the best tag team matches I've ever seen. And this is coming from somebody that hasn't watched really a lot of Ring of Honor. To be quite honest with you, I never followed Ring of Honor. I heard about Ring of Honor, I knew what it was, but I was not really that your average Ring of Honor follower, to be quite honest with you. But I definitely enjoyed what I saw, and honestly, I think a Ring of Honor under the AEW umbrella is 100% going to be a success. Of course, the main event was Jonathan Gresham taking on Bandito for the undisputed Ring of Honor Championship, which was really fantastic, by the way. This was actually my first Bandito match, and I heard a lot of great things about Bandito, but oh my god, I didn't know how good Bandito was after that match with Jonathan Gresham. Jonathan Gresham has been making the waves these past couple months as the interim Ring of Honor champion. But overall, this was a fantastic show for what it was. Dynamite was really good, and this definitely felt like, a Raw after WrestleMania, mainly because of the fact that, not only because of the fact that we got the matches that we got, but the crowd was absolutely hot. The crowd was extremely hot for this show. Wardlow was extremely over. Adam Cole, of course, got the win via heel tactic. Of course, Adam Cole is a heel, so it makes perfect sense. But overall, this was a great show for what it was. Of course, we got a lot of announcements. Of course, we got Adam Cole versus Hangman Page next Friday on Rampage, which is going to be live, by the way, so it's going to be amazing to see. I'll talk about why they put that match on Rampage, because I think I know why they put that match on Rampage, mainly because of the fact that the ratings were not really reflecting for Rampage. And, nobody was going to watch Rampage last week, mainly because of the fact that Ring of Honor's pay-per-view was going on at the same time. So it's like Tony Khan, as he stated himself, like he was competing against himself. But overall, man, back to Dynamite. Dynamite kicked off with Adam Cole versus the Instant Classic. That's a little old school right there. Christian Cage. Overall, this was a great match. I enjoyed the match. Adam Cole is by far one of the best wrestlers in the world today. Christian Cage is still one of my favorites. It was an awesome match, and you can say that this was definitely a dream match, 100%. But the match starts. Both lock up. Cage goes for a waist lock. We get a side headlock by Christian Cage. Cage goes for a shoulder tackle, but then we get a kick by Cage. We get a right hand by Adam Cole. He takes Cage to the corner and works on Cage with repeated kicks. Then Cage counters Cole for the kill switch, but escapes, or we should call it the unprettier, because that's what it's called. It's either the kill switch or the unprettier. But Cole is on the apron and spits in the face of Christian Cage. Cage then chases Cole around the ring, but then hits a right hand on the outside. We get a chop by Cage on the outside, and we get multiple chops, I should say, by Christian Cage. Then he takes Cole to the top. Cole escapes and then hits a super kick. Then after that, he kicks to we get a couple of kicks to the face of Cage by Adam Cole. Cage is on the outside. He sends Cage to the guardrail. Then after that, Adam Cole sends Cage over the steel steps in devastating fashion, which looked really sick. Once we're back from commercial break, Cole is in control. Then Cage takes Cole to the outside. Cage then goes to the top. He dives over the ring post, but Cole escapes and Cage lands on the floor. Then Cole and Cage exchange blows. We get an enziguri by Adam Cole. Cole then steps over Cage and goes to the middle rope, but he goes down, but Cage gets the boots up, so that was a really devastating move right there. Cage then goes to the top and goes for repeated right hands. We get a kick by Cage, and then we get a diving sunset flip roll-up. We get a cover and a near fall. Cage then goes for an uppercut. Then Cage goes to the top and hits a swinging DDT, or tornado DDT. Honestly, it's so weird because when you watch WWE, they say tornado DDT, but then when you watch AEW, they say swinging DDT. It's the same move. We get a cover by Cage and a near fall. Cole then misses the enziguri attempt, and then he gets caught with the kill switch, but Cole escapes again. Cage then goes to the top, but then gets caught into a backstabber by Adam Cole. We get a cover and a near fall, but we get a roll-up pin attempt by Cage and another near fall. Then Cage blocks a super kick. We get a reverse DDT counter by Christian. Then Cage misses the diving headbutt. Then after that, Cole goes for a series of super kicks, and then he hits the boom. But we get a cover and a near fall, but he did not get the knee pad down. So I love the fact that the commentators always mention that, and it really plays into the story of the match. Whenever Adam Cole hits the boom in desperate measures, the commentators always tend to mention, oh, he didn't get the knee pad down. Usually whenever Adam Cole gets the knee pad down, it's more, impactful, and it really just puts down the opponent. But in this case, Adam Cole was desperate to just hit him with the boom that he forgot to basically put the knee pad down. So I loved that Excalibur mentioned that on commentary. It was great to see that. But Cole goes for a series of super kicks after that. I already stated that he hits the boom. Cage is in control after exchanging shots. Cole is in the middle rope and hits a right hand. Cage then goes to the top but falls into a kick by Adam Cole. We get a cover and a near fall, but then Cole goes to the top. Cage then gets caught with the right and then hits a beautiful Hurricane Rana after that. We get a cover by Cage and a near fall. Then Cage runs into a super kick onto his knee by Adam Cole. Cole then goes for the Panama Sunrise, but Cage counters. Cage then tries to go for a spear, but then Cole counters into a pump kick. Cage then ducks the boom. Then Cage hits a spear. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Cage applies, he tries to set up the hitting the kill switch on Adam Cole, but what happens? Cole goes for the thumb to the eye, and then he hits the boom. We get a cover, and Adam Cole beats Christian Cage. Overall, this is the right decision to make. I think it'd be a foolish decision, in my opinion, to have Christian Cage go over. But overall, Christian Cage wrestled really good in this match. Adam Cole, of course, the right man, won. Then after that, what happens? Red Dragon, that being Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, come in and attack Christian Cage after the match, but Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus come in for the save. Luchasaurus goes after Bobby Fish up on the ramp. Cole is in the ring, but then Hangman's music plays. Cole has the microphone while Hangman is walking down the ring, and this definitely had a big fight feel to it. I really loved what I saw here. And then he says he's not fighting him until the AEW Championship is on the line. Hangman comes in the ring and immediately snatches the microphone away from Adam Cole. Then both face off. Hangman then says that we have a live Rampage next Friday in Texas, and he challenges him to a Texas death match for the AEW World Title. And then Cole says he says that Cole should have a week to get his affairs in order, and then yeah, the segment's over. Overall, I love the fact that they're booking this for Rampage, mainly because of the fact that even though I have loved Rampage, the ratings haven't shown that. The ratings really have been dipping a lot for Rampage, like down to the 400,000 area. And since Rampage is going to be live, and I believe it's going to be preempted due to the NBA, and it's going to air at 7 next week, this is definitely a perfect opportunity for AEW to capitalize on that and definitely have a really good Texas death match for the AEW World Championship between Adam Cole and Hangman Page. Who do I think is going to win? Most likely it's going to be Hangman Page. It makes total sense for that to happen. I don't think Adam Cole is going to win the AEW Championship just yet. I think we're going to have to wait a full year for that because I always mention, we're waiting for Kenny Omega to come back. We do not know when he's going to come back. Usually, Kenny Omega definitely, I think he has some sort of surgery. I think that already happened, but definitely, Kenny Omega should take his time in order to recuperate because this guy put the company on his back the entirety of last year. But overall, Adam Cole's main feud right now after the Hangman feud is 100% going to be Kenny Omega, but we do not know when Kenny Omega is going to come back, so we're going to have to wait and see what happens there. But what happens with Hangman after he most likely beats Adam Cole? CM Punk, of course, has been teasing that he wants the World Championship for the past 2 weeks. Now, granted, one of the things that made this Dynamite so special is that CM Punk wasn't on the show. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, literally, without CM Punk, AEW absolutely delivered as well. And I absolutely love that. But, 100% CM Punk is going after the World Championship. And it's going to be at Double or Nothing, I believe. It's going to be Hangman Page versus CM Punk. And now with the addition of Samoa Joe, a lot of people are saying CM Punk is going to be the World Champion and at All Out in Chicago, because most likely All Out is going to be in Chicago, most likely at the United Center, I believe. I don't think they should go to the Now Arena, mainly because they already sold out the United Center. So why not sell out the United Center for your biggest show of the year? Why not have CM Punk versus Samoa Joe for the AEW Championship? Because these guys had killer matches in Ring of Honor. I believe it was a trilogy, and 2 of them ended in no official winner. I believe that's the case. I gotta go watch those matches because a lot of people always say if you really want to get into Ring of Honor or classic Ring of Honor, watch the Joe versus Punk matches because those guys absolutely killed each other. But yeah, man, a lot of people are saying we should get Samoa Joe versus CM Punk at All Out, but that's when CM Punk is the world champion, and I genuinely believe that he's going to be the world champion this year, and Hangman Page is the guy to beat him. I remember a couple of months earlier, I was like, MJF is the guy to beat Hangman Page, but I feel like they're going to alter that, mainly because of the fact that MJF now is in a current feud with Wardlow, and honestly, I was that type of person that really didn't care about the feud, but to be quite honest, the Wardlow is so super over with the audience right now that I completely changed my mind. So this is definitely a pay-per-view quality feud, but we're back to Hangman. Hangman is definitely going to have a killer Texas death match next Friday on Rampage, and they put it on Rampage mainly because of the fact that they want to get a big rating for Rampage. I feel like they were focusing more on Dynamite and less on Rampage compared to when Rampage first premiered last summer. Rampage had some awesome-ass matches, but they're definitely going back on track next Friday. Not only that, Rampage this Friday is actually looking really good. We have Wheeler Yuta versus John Moxley and Bryan Danielson versus Trent Beretta. Those matches are going to be absolutely amazing, and from what I have seen on Twitter, a lot of people are saying, because Rampage was taped right after Dynamite last night, a lot of people are saying that Wheeler Yuta and John Moxley is one of the best matches of the year, mainly because of the fact that, the people are just going apeshit for that match. So definitely Rampage is a show that I'm definitely 100% going to be tuning in this Friday. But overall, man, this was a fantastic opening match and a fantastic segment. The crowd was absolutely on fire. All right. We get Samoa Joe versus Max Caster in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. Max Caster does a crazy-ass rap on Samoa Joe, and they were literally hyping up this rap for a while. They were hyping up this rap ever since Samoa Joe made his return, I should say, to Ring of Honor this past Friday at Supercard of Honor, which was a big deal. Of course, Jay Lethal earlier on in the night faced Lee Moriarty in a really good match, and he turned heel. He was going crazy, and then Sanjay Dutt came in and tried to calm him down, but in the end of the night, Sanjay Dutt showed his true colors, and he went against him and Jay Lethal went after Jonathan Gresham after beating Bandito for, I was about to say Fandango, what the hell, Bandito for the Undisputed Ring of Honor Championship. And Samoa Joe came out and he got a huge pop. Of course, Samoa Joe played a huge part in the history of Ring of Honor. He was one of the longest reigning, and he was completely undefeated in Ring of Honor. Also, he was undefeated in TNA, because I'm more familiar with Samoa Joe in TNA. That's when I was introduced Samoa Joe. I was introduced to Samoa Joe in TNA, and literally Samoa Joe had a killer-ass run until, of course, they had him beat Kurt Angle in his first match. I mean, it was kind of weird because, like, Samoa Joe was on this crazy-ass undefeated streak in TNA, and he has tremendous matches with those guys like AJ Styles. Of course, you have to mention the triple threat match, the fantastic triple threat match that AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Christopher Daniels had at Unbreakable 2005. That was probably the best match that TNA ever had. But, like, of course, you know, the TNA's highest buy rates were the Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe feud, or was the Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe feud. But overall, like, Samoa Joe, like, I was introduced to Samoa Joe in TNA. That was, like, how I was introduced to Samoa Joe. Of course, he later on went to NXT, became the NXT champion. And then after that, you know, he went to the main roster, and they really didn't do anything with him on the main roster. I remember them feuding, having Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar feud, but, like, you know, they should have had Samoa Joe go over in the match. And it was a fantastic build, I might add. That was a fantastic build. Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar was great. And it was a match that I was definitely excited about, but it was kind of the wrong decision to make to have Brock Lesnar win. But whatever. But overall, I love the fact that Samoa Joe is back in Ring of Honor. Not only that, he's officially part of the AEW roster, so that is great to see. And overall, Samoa Joe versus Max Caster was a really short match. Of course, this is a qualifying match for the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, which is definitely looking to be stacked. And honestly, I wouldn't mind if Samoa Joe won the entire damn tournament as a whole. But we got, you know, one thing I will say about Samoa Joe, and this was always the case, if you really followed him throughout his career, Joe is over as a motherfucker. Like Joe is insanely over with the audience. We constantly, like, the crowd is just chanting Joe, 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 and it matches with this theme song. It fits so perfectly with this theme song. Not only that, it fit really well in WWE and TNA as well. But also, like, you know, we got Joe is gonna kill you chants. So, you know, for a fact, after Max Caster did that rap, you know, Max Caster was finished. Like, Samoa Joe had that face in his eyes. He was like, I'm going to beat your ass. But basically, Samoa Joe beat the shit out of Max Caster throughout this entirety of the match. Really, Joe got most of the offense throughout this match. We get a headbutt by Joe. Of course, the signature headbutt right there. We get repeated rights by Joe. We get a couple of chops. He sends Caster into the corner, and we get a spinning Insigiri. Then he fights off Caster. We get a chop to the back of Caster. We get an elbow drop by Joe. Joe then goes, or Caster, I should say, goes to the outside, and he hits an elbow suicida. Yes, he hit the elbow suicida, which was awesome to see. And then he gets distracted by Bowens. Then Caster he takes Joe back in the ring. Then we get a couple of right hands by Caster. So Caster's starting to get the offense right here, but then Joe fights back with the right. Then he picks up Caster, and what does he hit? He hits the freaking Muscle Buster. I haven't seen Samoa Joe hit the Muscle Buster in a while. I believe he did hit it in NXT and also on the main roster, but, you know, these recent years, I haven't seen Samoa Joe hit the Muscle Buster. So it was great to see that he finally hit the Muscle Buster once again, because that was like his like complete finishing move right there, especially in his early days in TNA. Like, this guy went crazy. But we get a cover, and Samoa Joe instantly wins the match. And then what happens after that? Sanjay Dutt and Jay Lethal are on the, I shouldn't say Titantron because that's really a WWE name, but they're on the Titantron, whatever, and say that they will not ruin his moment, just like he ruined their moment at Supercard of Honor. Last week, they changed their outlook in life, and for 4 months, he tried to call Joe, but never got an answer, and says that Joe only picks up the phone for billionaires, and says that next week in New Orleans, he will give him a present. What is that present? We do not know. We are going to wait and see next week on Dynamite, but I'm loving this pairing between Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt. Of course, they have been teasing a heel turn when it comes to Jay Lethal after losing a couple of matches, but overall, man, you know, I think, you know, Jay Lethal having a heel run is really fantastic, and they really showcased that last week on the Supercard show. But overall, man, you know, Samoa Joe and AEW, hats off, man. Like, this guy should have been WWE champion. 100% Samoa Joe should have been WWE champion, and they did not capitalize on that. Why? I do not know, but it was just flat out ridiculous. And then they made him into a commentator, which I will say, man, Samoa Joe is a fantastic commentator. You can definitely see the emotion that Samoa Joe was bringing to the table. He had a He was a color commentator in the WWE, and he had a fantastic run as a color commentator. But really, his true spirits are in the ring. And you know what? It's great to see Samoa Joe back, and he's going to do great things in both AEW and Ring of Honor. All right, the Blackpool Combat Club backstage, William Regal talks about how he is excited. He says that Bryan Danielson will face Trent Beretta this Friday on Rampage, and says that Wheeler Yuta has really impressed him, and says that he will face Jon Moxley this Friday, which, by the way, a lot of people, as I stated earlier, a lot of people are saying that that match has been amazing. And that match happened last night because Rampage was taped. We got Shawn Spears versus Shawn Dean. Overall, this is a pretty good match. Of course, this match, really, the only reason why this match is happening is to build up Wardlow. Of course, Wardlow is banned from AEW events in kayfabe, of course. And MJF comes out and he joins the commentary team. And always, MJF on commentary is just pure television gold. But the match starts. Both Shawn Spears and Shawn Dean lock up. We get a waist lock by Dean, and we get a backbreaker by Spears. We get a stomp, and then he sends Dean to the outside. Spears then goes to the outside and points at the Flyer. And then we get a bunch of Wardlow chants from the crowd. Wardlow is another guy that is extremely over with the crowd. One thing that AEW capitalizes on really, really, really well is getting their wrestlers over. And that is just something great to see. It's really fantastic. Like, look at FTR. FTR, which I will be talking about their fantastic match that they had with the Young Bucks later on in this review. FTR managed, ever since they turned babyface, holy crap, man, the crowd was just absolutely, like, on top of FTR. Like, everybody loves FTR right now, and I'm like, bro, FTR is by far the best tag team in the world today. But overall, man, like, what AEW capitalizes on is the way that they put over the wrestlers, and that is great to see. I love the AEW audience every week on Dynamite. It's really unique, and the audience really brings a sort of flair to the wrestlers, and really Wardlow is one of those guys that is definitely going to be a huge star. And really, if you really look at it, Wardlow is not really, if you look at it in retrospect, like, Wardlow is the type of guy that Vince McMahon likes. Like, we all hear these stories that Vince loves big men, and 100% watch the WWE try to sign Wardlow in the next couple of years. Just watch. But we get a bunch of Wardlow chants from the crowd. He sends Dean back in the ring. We get a couple of chops by Shawn Spears, but then Dean fights back with a couple of chops of his own. Then Spears hits a neck breaker on Shawn Dean. We get a cover by Spears, but then Spears stops the cover. He picks up Dean, but the camera immediately is running backstage, and the security staff is absolutely laid out. And then Wardlow at this point is taking out security, and the camera crew is just following him. He walks through the crowd, and he takes out security. And once back in the ring, Shawn Dean rolls up Shawn Spears, and he beats Shawn Spears in the center of the ring, all because of Wardlow making the distraction for Shawn Spears. Not only him, but MJF, who was also on commentary as well. Overall, this was great. I loved the crazy ass, like, shock value of this, especially when Shawn Spears was rolled up by Shawn Dean. That was something great to see. Not only that, though, this whole thing with Wardlow has been absolutely amazing. This got Wardlow so over with the crowd that this is going to lead to a match between MJF and Wardlow at Double or Nothing, most likely. I think that's the most likely scenario that it's going to happen. And I remember the segment that they had last week with Wardlow. You really felt it when, MJF was just talking shit on Wardlow in front of him. Like, that was insane. But, like, overall, this is a great match. I don't even want to say the match itself was great, because really the match was short. But really, the importance of this was not really the match itself. It was really Wardlow. And, we're going to be seeing that for the next couple of weeks on Dynamite until we get an official match announced for most likely Double or Nothing. All right. Best Friends and Wheeler Yuta backstage. The Best Friends question Wheeler Yuta. Of course, Wheeler Yuta is currently the Ring of Honor Pure Champion. I believe he beat Josh Woods. I believe that's his name, which, again, I'm not really that familiar with Ring of Honor, but Josh Woods was the current Ring of Honor Pure Champion. And by the way, that was my first pure match that I saw for the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. And I'm not going to lie, man, the Pure Championship is really unique, and I actually love it. I'm going to binge watch a bunch of Pure Championship matches, because what I like about the Pure Championship is that it tests the wrestler in the ring. Of course, the rules for the Pure Championship is, you only have 3 rope breaks. You can't have do right hands with closed fists. You have to do open hand shots. So, like, the rules for the Pure Championship is really unique, and they really showcased that with the Josh Woods and Wheeler Yuta match. Overall, like, Wheeler Yuta already, like, he had his He already finished all 3 of his rope breaks during the match, but he still managed to get the win over Josh Woods this past Friday on the Supercard show. But overall, man, like, it was a great match. I love Josh Woods versus Wheeler Yuta, and this was my first Josh Woods match. It was like literally a lot of the talent in, Ring of Honor. Like, for example, your Willow Nightingales and your, Josh Woods, for example. And, a lot of those guys, I was first introduced to because they were currently in Ring of Honor before they were bought out by AEW. And honestly, Ring of Honor has a lot of really tremendous talent, but we'll have to wait and see what the future holds for those guys in Ring of Honor if they're going to stay there. But overall, man, of course, this past Friday, Wheeler had a tremendous match with Josh Woods, and he's the current Ring of Honor pure champion. The best friends, of course, question Wheeler Yuta, and Trent Beretta says that he does not like him. And Trent tells him that he should learn something with his match against Bryan Danielson. Of course, Trent Beretta is going to be facing Bryan Danielson this Friday on Rampage. And by the way, man, Wheeler Yuta is a star in the making. This guy had a bonker-ass match against Bryan Danielson this past Wednesday. Last week on Dynamite, holy shit. That match that he had with Bryan Danielson was probably my favorite match of the entire show. I don't care what anybody says, man. Wheeler Yuta is by far, like, a tremendous wrestler. And he really showcased that in the match against Bryan Danielson. And honestly, he'd be an amazing fit for the Blackpool Combat Club. Bar none, 100%. And with the Pure Championship, it's even better. But earlier tonight, they showcased the video package of earlier tonight, Santana and Ortiz and Eddie Kingston attacked the Jericho Appreciation Society. So they attacked Chris Jericho, Jake Hager 2.0, Daniel Garcia, everybody. And Jericho ran off. Then what happens? Eddie Kingston and Santana and Ortiz instantly come out. No music playing, which I absolutely love. It really brings the realism in it. Eddie Kingston and Santana and Ortiz, the former members of LAX, come out. They call out Jericho, and Kingston calls Jericho a two-faced coward. And he talks about how he ran away, his association on site, and he can be with him and his wife and his kids, and he'll still hunt him down and attack his ass. Then the other two morons, if he was still with them, he'd still attack them and says that he knows where Garcia lives, so I will literally go down to his house and attack him. That's exactly what Eddie Kingston stated. So Eddie Kingston is a savage. And then Santana grabs the mic, and bro, Santana is a fantastic promo. Dude, bar none, this guy can possibly literally have a singles career for himself, man. Santana is a fantastic promo. He says that Jericho's bitch society strikes again and says this is what they do, and they better bring their biggest fight. And then Ortiz grabs the mic and challenges them to an old-fashioned six-man tag team championship. Not championship, but six-man tag team match next week in New Orleans on Dynamite. So it's going to be Eddie Kingston and Santana and Ortiz taking on most likely Chris Jericho and 2.0. Overall, this was a great promo segment. Eddie Kingston, he's probably one of the best promos, if not the best promo in the history of the business currently today, right now. Santana as well. Ortiz is fantastic. Literally, you can do a blood and guts match with, him, Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz. You can literally bring in Homicide and Hernandez, the original members of LAX, versus the entire Jericho Appreciation Society inside Blood and Guts. Really, the possibilities are endless when it comes to this feud, and I'm absolutely loving it because all eyes are leading to Blood and Guts. Either there are two options that AEW can do with Blood and Guts. Either have the original Elite take on the Undisputed Elite, or they can have LAX versus the Jericho Appreciation Society. Now, granted, AEW does not own the rights to LAX, but it can be like a one-time thing if they bring in Homicide and Hernandez, because if you guys don't remember, Homicide and Hernandez were the original members, and Conan as well, were the original members of LAX back in 2006 in TNA. And we'll have to wait and see where this goes, but I'm definitely enjoying this current feud. I absolutely love it. All right. We get a video package of Hook and Danhausen. Of course, Hook is amazing and so cool that literally Danhausen's curse does not work on Hook. End of story. Tony Schiavone interviews the TBS champion Jade Cargill, and boy, oh boy, Jade Cargill is a star. So she talks about her 30th match and her most likely possible 30th win. And Jade asks Tony to cut the shit, as she always does every week. And she is here to introduce the baddie section. So the baddie section is literally like a section around like the front row. I don't even want to say the front row, but a section in the first few rows of the crowd. And it's like a whole line of women. So, like, it's possibly, like, she's going to, like, introduce her baddie section, like, almost every week on Dynamite now, which is great to see. So she shows the section to the crowd and says that the baddie is a beautiful woman with confidence. And she knows herself. And then Smart Mark Sterling says that she is such a hard worker and found beautiful women even though they are in Boston, which was hilarious. And then she talks about how Maria Shafir is, she just talks down Maria Shafir and says that she is tired of MMA people coming in to her business. So, boom, boom, shots fired right there. But overall, what are my thoughts on Jade Cargill right now, man? Like, I remember when they first put the TBS championship on her, I was not really as in tune with that decision, mainly because of the fact that I was like, Jade Cargill, in my opinion, is not really ready. But she was still a fantastic promo. But overall, her title run with the TBS title not only has been dominant, but just has been, quite frankly, fantastic. I've been enjoying her championship run with the TBS championship. And 100%, I wouldn't mind if Jade Cargill was going to be the AEW women's champion, but we'll have to wait and see where that takes her in the near future. But overall, man, Jade Cargill is a star in the making. And again, she's another one of those talents that 100% watch WWE try to sign her in the next couple of years. Watch that happen, because Jade Cargill is a wrestler / woman that WWE would love to sign. Be honest with yourselves. All right. MJF and Sean Spears backstage, and MJF says that he will challenge Sean Dean to a match next week. It's very rare that we see MJF wrestle in the match, and there will also be twice as much security next week to ban Wardlow from the arena. All right. So, yeah, we got MJF challenging Sean Dean to a match next week. Overall, MJF, of course, is going to go over, or you never know. Maybe you never know. Sean Dean can get the win over MJF because of Wardlow, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, here's one match that I thought was really good, but it was really off. And I will talk about this. The Hardy Boys versus Butcher and Blade in a tables match. Again, I tweeted this out on Twitter after the match was over. The match was pretty good for what it was, but overall, it was off. And the reason why I say the match was off is because of the fact that the rules were just split all over the place. Like, AEW did not even explain the rules before like the match even started. Like, they were explaining the rules while the action was going on. Like, for example, if somebody went through a table, Excalibur would just, like, say something random. Like, oh, that doesn't count. Something like that. To me, it kind of was like, what? So, the thing about it is a tables match works differently in AEW than it does in WWE. In WWE, the first guy to go through a table instantly, loses the match. But in this case, it's different. Whoever goes through a table via an offensive move, is the winner. Not only that, another problem that I had with this match is the fact that I didn't even know that this match was an elimination match. Before the match, they did not even explain at all that like this match was an elimination style match. So as soon as somebody hit an offensive move on the other wrestler, you would instantly assume that the match was over, but it was not. So really, AEW needs to start putting the rules out before they put out a match, because the rules of this entire match was just all over the place, in my opinion. That's what really got a lot of people angry with the entire match, and a lot of people did not like this match. And if you didn't like this match, I totally understand. I thought it was an okay match, but again, the rules were just all over the place. That they should have explained the rules before the match even started. Not only that, Jeff was eliminated, and he was the one that basically eliminated Butcher or Blade. Like, to me, that made no sense, because Jeff was not the legal man. So that, to me, that was kind of off. But we'll talk about that later on, because, again, the rules were just all over the place. AEW needs to do a better job in explaining those rules. Not only that, I can remember in the very first AEW event in Double or Nothing, AEW is having a lot of trouble when it came to the Casino Battle Royale. Like, a lot of people were like, wait, what are the rules again? They were kind of just off, but whatever. But the match starts. A brawl breaks loose. Blade takes Hardy in the ring. Both Jeff and Blade fight it out. Blade goes through a table, but it doesn't count since it's an offensive move. So Blade going through a table, basically it was him running through a table and going through it because one of the members of the Hardys ducked. Which, again, I totally understand that rule, because for years we've been seeing tables matches in the WWE in which, a wrestler would just run through a table like by accident, and then the match would instantly end. But, again, they should have explained that, like, before the match even started. But Butcher's in the ring. Butcher then wants to hit German suplex Jeff through the table, but then Matt comes in for the save. We get a double DDT on Butcher by the Hardys. Then both take Butcher on the table. Matt holds on to Butcher, and then Jeff sets up a swanton, but Blade interferes. But then Blade hits a swinging neckbreaker on Matt. Blade goes to the top. Butcher and Blade then throw Jeff onto the table and gets eliminated. So again, when they put Jeff through the table, Like, you thought, like, oh my God, the match is over. The Hardy Boys are lost the match. But no, the commentators are like, oh, no, that's an elimination. That's an elimination. Okay, explain that before, because you'll instantly have the viewer be like, oh my God, they lost. Like, to me, like, again, this match was just all over the place, and that was one of the big problems with this match. AEW, explain the rules of a match before you have the match happen on television. Please. That's why a lot of people do not like it. So once we're back from commercial break, Matt Hardy goes for repeated chair shots on Butcher. Matt goes to the top and hits a leg drop on Butcher. And then Butcher gets eliminated due to the leg drop and going through the table. Matt then goes through the table on the outside, but it does not count because he fell by accident. And then Matt gets sent to the barricade, and then Butcher and Blade work on Matt. They take Matt onto the table on the outside, but then Matt escapes over the guardrail. Butcher and Blade then pick up Matt and hits a suplex on the floor. So Butcher instantly came in, even though he was eliminated, and hits a suplex on the floor since Jeff pulls the table away. So Butcher was eliminated. He came back. So that was kind of off. So, like, again, this was no DQ, which makes sense, but still, like, you know, you had the guys wrestle even though they were already eliminated. To me, it made no sense. But then Jeff comes in and attacks Butcher. Both men, by the way, are eliminated. He hits the Twist of Fate on Blade, but then Matt later hits the Twist of Fate himself on Blade. Jeff then takes out a ladder, and then Matt hits the Twist of Fate on Butcher. Both Hardys then set up a table onto the outside. 2 tables, I might add. And then Jeff goes to the top, and then he hits a Swanton Bomb, that being Jeff Hardy, who is the man that was eliminated first in the match, hit a Swanton Bomb to eliminate Blade. To me, that kind of made no sense. In fact, I would have had somebody like Matt go through, put Blade through the table. But I mean, looking back at it, I mean, we've seen instances during like Royal Rumble matches where like guys that were eliminated already eliminated the illegal man part of the match. So like, I got that. But I mean, to me, I mean, this is a tables match, so I feel like the situation's a little bit different. But again, you know, one of the biggest problems, even though I thought the match was pretty good for what it was, you know, the problem with it was the ruling of the match. You know, they would tell you the ruling of the match while the action was going on. Like, if a certain moment happened in the match that was important, for example, somebody going through a table, they would tell you that specific rule. It's better enough to literally just explain the entire ruling of the match before the match even starts. That's my biggest problem, and AEW did not deliver on that. All right, so after that, Christian Cage is backstage and is pissed off. Jurassic Express then challenge Red Dragon for the AEW World Tag Team Championships next week on Dynamite, which is going to be a fantastic match. And I'm going to call it right here and right now. Red Dragon is going to take the AEW World Tag Team Championships away from Jurassic Express. I think it's time. I think it's the best time right now for Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly to take those championships away. But we'll have to wait and see. We got a video package of Thunder Rosa and Nyla Rose. Of course, you guys know me. I'm not really in tune with Thunder Rosa's first title defense being Nyla Rose. I mean, like, we've seen that for the past 2 champions in the AEW women's division, that their first opponents or their first title defenses were against Nyla Rose. So to me, that was like, okay, whatever. But the announcement is Nyla Rose versus Thunder Rosa for the AEW Women's Championship will take place next Saturday at Battle of the Belts 2, which, you know, it's only fitting for that match to happen there. But here's the thing. One of my biggest gripes with the first Battle of the Belts, and I was somebody that loved the first Battle of the Belts. One of my biggest problems, though, with Battle of the Belts was the show being 1 hour. And the show was really not taken as seriously as it should have been, in my opinion. Even though the show was good for what it was, we had Ricky Starks versus, he defended the FTW Championship, but I forgot against who. I think it was, I completely forgot. But Ricky Starks defended the FTW Championship. We had a fantastic match between Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. Of course, originally it was supposed to be Cody Rhodes, but then he went down due to COVID. So they crowned an interim TNT champion there. But again, you know, one of my biggest gripes with Battle of the Belts was the fact that the show was 1 hour. Now, we got another problem with Battle of the Belts. First off, the show is taped, which it should not be taped whatsoever. The show should be a live show. I do not know why the show is taped. Not only that, it's still 1 hour. What I would have done for Battle of the Belts, I might add, was have the show be 2 hours and really give it a big pay-per-view quality level show like it would be like a Saturday night's main event. Because that's really what Battle of the Belts is. It's basically their version of WCW's Clash of the Champions on TBS or WWE's Saturday Night's Main Event on NBC. It's really that, but let's be honest right here. Battle of the Belts is not really as important as they seem to be, as AEW makes it out to be, and it's really not as important. So hopefully in the near future, I mean, we're not going to see it next week, which I don't know why, but hopefully in the next couple of months, they actually take Battle of the Belts more seriously, because that's the only match right now announced for Battle of the Belts. Like, there should be legitimate build for Battle of the Belts, and they're not doing that. But we got Nyla Rose versus Thunder Rosa for the AEW Women's Championship at Battle of the Belts next Saturday night on TNT. Overall, it's going to be a great match. It's going to be a pretty good match for what it is. But again, I wish Battle of the Belts was taken a little more seriously. All right. Jamie Hayter and Tony Storm backstage, and they argue about, them wanting to win the Owen Hart tournament. Overall, that's great. I mean, we're definitely going to see a match between the two in the near future. And honestly, like the Owen Hart Foundation tournaments are definitely going to be a thing of beauty to watch, because, for the men and the women, because we're going to be seeing a lot of new faces in the tournament. Not only that, this tournament has the potential on being like literally really important. And if this tournament is really successful this year, who is to say that it's probably going to be an annual thing? And if it's an annual thing, sign me up for it. We got Hikaru Shida versus Julia Hart in a qualifying match for the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. Julia Hart goes for the attack straight away, and Julia Hart has been acting a little bit strange lately. She's been acting really strange, of course, due to the events of Malachi Black. So very heel tactics by Julia Hart. We get a cartwheel clothesline by Julia. Shida then picks up Hart. We get a knee strike. Then she dives the knee on Hart. Shida then grabs the chair, and then she sets it up onto the outside. She hits a dropkick on Hart onto the outside, and then she takes Julia back in the ring. Hart then gains control. We get repeated rights by Julia Hart. At this point, during the commercial break, Julia Hart is in control. Once we're back from break, Shida regains control. Shida then goes for repeated shots to the back of Hart. Later on in the match, Hart gouges the eyes of Shida. Hart then goes for a bulldog. We get a cover by Julia Hart and a near fall. Hart then goes to the top, but then she misses her chance. We get a spinning knee strike by Shida. Then she picks up Hart for the Falcon Arrow and wins the match. Overall, this is a pretty fun little match. It was not a bad match, but, again, I'm really curious to see what they're going to be doing with Julia Hart, because this has been the case with Julia Hart for the past couple of weeks on Dynamite. I shouldn't even say past couple weeks, past couple of months, I should say, on Dynamite. But we'll have to wait and see. But after that, Serena Deeb comes out. And then Serena Deeb is looking at the stage, but Serena Deeb is not there. So what happens is that Shida catches Deeb from behind, and Deeb has a steel chair. And then basically both fight it out. But so this feud between Serena Deeb and Shida is not over yet. Which, how many matches have we seen with Serena Deeb and Hikaru Shida? I completely forgot. We've seen a lot. But, I feel like they should end this match, or this feud already. I feel like they should move on with Serena Deeb, because I definitely do see Serena Deeb definitely, even though she is a veteran in the game, she definitely does have the potential for main event status, either for the TBS Championship or for the AEW Women's Championship. Like, again, I've stated for the past couple of weeks on the Dynamite review that, Serena Deeb would have a fantastic feud with Thunder Rosa, in my opinion. I think both women will tear it up in the ring. But yeah. Swerve Strickland. We get a backstage interview with Swerve Strickland, and they talk about the Grammys. Of course, he attended the Grammys last, I think it was this past weekend. I think it was last Sunday. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't follow it. But they talk about Keith Lee, and then what happens? He goes into his locker room, but then all of a sudden, Hobbs and Ricky Starks attack him. Then Keith Lee enters the fray, and he pushes, I believe it was Will Hobbs, or Powerhouse Hobbs, I should say, through the wall, which was something great to see. And, there was a brawl going on in the locker room. So, yeah. So, this Friday on Rampage, we got Jon Moxley versus Wheeler Yuta, which fans are saying is probably literally one of the best matches. A lot of people are putting over this match like crazy on Twitter right now. We got Willow Nightingale in a match in a qualifying match, I believe, for the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. So she's going to be wrestling in the match. I forgot against who. So I'll have to wait and see who's the opponent. I completely forgot, because like they did announce her opponent, but I forgot to write it in my notes. We got Steve versus QT, and then after that we got Danielson versus Trent. Overall, Rampage is looking as a really good show, but like next Friday, Rampage is going to be a much better show. All right. FTR versus Young Bucks for the Ring of Honor and AAA Tag Team Championships. Overall, this was a fantastic main event, and it's safe to say that FTR right now is on a roll. 100% FTR is on a damn roll, and I'm definitely enjoying what I'm seeing with FTR, man. Their babyface run has been fantastic. It really started to, like, they've been feuding with the Briscoes on the internet for a while now, and they delivered in I saw the Briscoes match with FTR at Supercard of Honor. It was a fantastic match. Probably, the crowd was absolutely amped up. I've never seen a crowd so excited. It had that big fight feel to it. There were chants of "fuck WrestleMania," which is hilarious. But of course, after the match, the Young Bucks made their return to Ring of Honor, and they challenged FTR to a match for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. But in this case, it's for both the AAA and Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. The crowd at this point is on their feet. Of course, the Ring of Honor ring announcer, which, by the way, I'm a big fan of. Even though I didn't watch Ring of Honor, I always dug the ring announcer. He's awesome. But the crowd is on their feet. Cash and Matt both lock up, both push each other. Cash goes for a takedown. We get a side headlock by Cash Wheeler, and then we get a side headlock by Matt. So they both are exchanging moves right here. We get a side headlock by Matt. We get a shoulder tackle by Cash Wheeler. Cash goes for a drop toe hold. Then Dags tags in, and then Nick tags in. Both lock up. We get a side headlock takeover by Dax Harwood. We get a wrist lock by Dax. We get a shoulder tackle by Dax. We get a slam by Dax Harwood, and then we get a side headlock takeover by Nick Jackson, then by Dax Harwood. Matt then goes for the blind tag, and then both teams face off. Matt then takes out Cash Wheeler. Dax goes for a right hand, and then Nick slides Dax down to the mat, but then Cash slides Matt, who was on the outside as well. So basically, Cash was basically returned the favor, which was great to see. At this point, both teams go back in the ring, and then both go at it. Then the Bucks go for a double hip toss drop kick combination on Dax Harwood, and then they do the same move on Cash Wheeler. So great tag team offense right there by the Young Bucks. But Cash comes back. Cash tags in. Cash then goes for a sharpshooter on Matt Jackson, but then Nick comes in for a super kick, but then Dax catches him and applies a sharpshooter on Nick Jackson. So that was great to see both members of FTR applying the sharpshooter. Of course, that's a nod right there too. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, Bret the Hitman Hart, which a lot of people are saying he's probably going to manage FTR, which I don't know if that's going to be the case, but the teases are there. But later on in the match, the Bucks escape the sharpshooter, but then the Bucks go for an enziguri combination on Cash Wheeler into the corner. We get a right hand by Matt Jackson. We get a Russian leg sweep by Matt on Cash, but then Matt goes to the top and hits a double axe handle after that. Nick then makes the tags and stomps on Cash. We go to commercial break, and the Bucks are in control. Nick then goes for a side headlock. Cash then goes for a suplex on Nick, but then Matt tags in. Then Cash gets Irish whipped, but slides and takes out Nick Jackson on the outside. Then he tries to tag Dax, but then Dax gets super kicked by Nick Jackson. But then he sends Cash to the corner. Both Bucks bump into each other in the corner. Then Nick goes for a springboard, but lands into an uppercut by Cash Wheeler. So at this point, the match is getting extremely intense, man. It was so tough to take notes during this match because of how good the match is. Whenever a match is that damn good, you're just so invested in the match that you're just having so much trouble taking notes. That is just so great to see. But he takes out all the Bucks. We got a suplex on Matt Jackson. Then he goes for a suplex on Nick, who lands on top of Matt Jackson. So we got the Young Bucks sandwich right there, as Excalibur would state on commentary. It was either Excalibur or Jim Ross that stated that. I don't recall. But then they take Nick to the outside, works on Matt. We get an inside cradle pin attempt by Dax Harwood, but we get a near fall. We get a bunch of roll-up reversals by both guys. We get a bridge pin attempt by both, but then we get a roll-through by Nick Jackson, and we get a near fall. We get a pile driver by Dax on Matt. We get a cover and a near fall. Then Dax takes Matt to the top. Then we get a chop block by Dax. Chop by Dax, I should say. Dax then goes to the top, but then Nick Jackson interferes. And then Cash goes for the side slam on Nick onto the apron. Dax comes back and takes out Matt Jackson. FTR then tries to go for the powerplex, but after Dax hits the superplex on Matt Jackson, what happens? Of course, he's going to go for the Cash is going to go down, but what happens? Nick Jackson instantly comes in and hits the freaking Hurricane Rana on Cash Wheeler from the top. But then Nick Jackson makes the tag, so he's the legal man. We got a jumping knee strike by Nick Jackson, so Nick Jackson at this point is going crazy. We get a bulldog drop combination by the Bucks. We get a kick by Nick on Dax, and he tries to take out Dax onto the outside, but then Dax hits a brainbuster on the outside. So that was a nice offensive move right there. But Cash then takes out Matt to the match. That's funny. We get a cover and a near fall, but then Matt counters the big rig. Then hits a low blow without the referee looking. Then the Young Bucks hit. What do they hit? What's the best way to get heel heat? When you hit your opponent's finishing move. And the Young Bucks hit the freaking big rig on FTR. Then after that, we get a cover and a near fall. Of course, FTR was going to kick out of that. Then after that, we get a Matt picks up Cash for the bang for your buck. We get a cover by Matt and a near fall. We get a cover again by Matt and a near fall. Nick Jackson then grabs one of the ROH tag team belts, but then Dax tries to take it back. So both Dax and Nick Jackson are playing tug of war with the belt. Then after that, we get a roll-up by Cash Wheeler and a near fall. Nick then hits Cash with the belt without the referee looking. So again, the Young Bucks are doing those damn heel tactics because they're freaking heels. But then we get a roll-up by Matt and a near fall when Dax interferes. Then the Bucks super kick Dax, and then the Bucks take Cash for the all-famous BTE trigger. We get a cover by Nick and a 3 count. So we get a cover by Nick Jackson. Nick Jackson goes for the pin, and the referee actually counts to 3, but didn't realize that Cash's foot was on the rope, and the bell actually rung. But as soon as the bell rung, Rick Knox actually saw Cash's leg on the bottom rope, and the Young Bucks were celebrating, and you had Rick Knox were like, no, the match is still going on. So again, whenever a match has that type of moment, for a fact the match is amazing. And then after that, the Bucks try to go for the Meltzer driver, but then Dax hits a tombstone combination counter. Then FTR go for the BTE trigger when Matt spits in the face of Dax Harwood. So that was great to see. And then FTR do the famous super click kissing in the cheek, which is hilarious, on Matt Jackson. And then they hit the big rig, and FTR wins and retains the Ring of Honor and AAA Tag Team Championships. Overall, this match was fantastic. I loved what I saw in this match. Not only that, man, the crowd is absolutely on their feet, and AEW delivered 100% for this Dynamite main event this week. The Young Bucks and FTR have great chemistry, and honestly, FTR right now is on a roll. And honestly, I love the fact that even though I didn't watch Ring of Honor, I love the fact that AEW is at least honoring, Ring of Honor and their history, because if WWE had purchased Ring of Honor, they would have immediately shut it down. And that was they really showcased that this past Friday. And FTR had a fantastic match with the Briscoe brothers. And overall, man, again, Young Bucks and FTR absolutely delivered 110. I'm not even going to say 100%. They delivered 110% because FTR right now is the best tag team in all of professional wrestling, and they're on a roll with the Ring of Honor and the AAA Tag Team Championships. But yeah, fantastic main event, fantastic match, and I'm definitely excited where this takes FTR in the near future. And the Young Bucks, hats off to the Young Bucks. Of course, they lost the match, but still, hats off to the Young Bucks because they're still one of the best tag teams in the world currently right now. And again, FTR and the Young Bucks have fantastic chemistry in the ring. But overall, I thought this episode of Dynamite was really good. I enjoyed Dynamite. It was a really good show. There's a lot of good matches on the show. Of course, the main match being FTR versus the Young Bucks. They absolutely killed it last night. But overall, Dynamite was a great show. There was a couple of, the Hardys match was kind of off in a way. But overall, it was a pretty good show overall. Fantastic episode of Dynamite. Dynamite is still the best wrestling show of the weekend. Honestly, this show felt like a legit Raw after WrestleMania. And WrestleMania is not even their show, which is hilarious. But overall, this show was fantastic, and I definitely enjoyed what I watched. But yeah, that was my AEW Dynamite review from April 6, 2022. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the Broken Havoc podcast. And as always, it is Broken Havoc, signing out.